So I might be feeling a bit under the weather, as you can hear from my voice, but my mood certainly improved when I received this in the mail. And this is a watch from Vaer. Now this is an American brand who I reviewed recently on Ben's Watch Club, and they're definitely one of the brands that I'm the most excited about at the moment. And I briefly mentioned in my review, where I covered a few other different watches, that this particular watch stood out to me because I thought it looked like a good value choice. In here is a pretty affordable solar powered field watch, and it's got quite a unique design too, so let's take a look at it. So we've got assembly, American assembly, of course. That's something that Vaer offers, which most brands don't. And let's take a closer look. So we have this strap in here. So most of these Vaer watches come with a couple of straps. Thanks to Vaer for providing this review sample, by the way. That's why you can see the paid promotion tab, but they haven't actually paid me any money to say anything. But if the last few Vaer watches are anything to go by, it'll probably be decent quality at least. And let's have a look at the watch. So this is the C3 Korean field watch, and it also wishes you through the specs there. 10 ATM water resistance, which is nice. 360 steel case, sapphire crystal, screw down crown, and a Seiko solar movement. So let's take a look. And here we go. So it's very much a retro inspired field watch, but this one just looks quite a bit different from many of the others that have this retro design. Now most of these vintage style field watches that you see tend to be either quarter automatic, and they're usually inspired by military watches from one of the world wars, whereas this one's slightly different. This is a Korean War themed watch, and as such it's got this dial that looks a fair amount different than the others. This one really has quite deep orange faux patina lume. It looks a little bit more orange in real life than it does on the stock images. Not sure if I like that or not, but I'll zoom right in. This is the C3, so they also make this in a C5 Korean field watch. That one is 40mm, whereas this is the smaller 36mm version. And they're both solar, even though it doesn't actually say it on the dial or anything. And you wouldn't know this was solar. The dial surface looks very, very similar to many other field watches that I've looked at from Vaer. Now on the back here it has a little map of Korea there, which is inscribed very nicely. Now one of the reasons I was excited to look at this is just because there aren't very many options. I think this retails for $279, and if you sign up for the newsletter you can get almost $30 off. So what's that, about $230, $240? Now the closest thing I can think of to this is probably the Timex Expedition North Field Post Solar. That's quite the mouthful. But yeah, that one's also 36mm, also solar. And I think that one has a screw down crown as well, like this one. But that one has a number of differences. It is slightly cheaper. I think that one is about $200, but I think it very much fills a similar niche. That one has a dial that's more textured that I think I probably like slightly more, but it's got a much less original design. That other one, especially the mechanical version of that Timex, it's almost a one-for-one Hamilton khaki clone, or at least it's a military designation design that's just used far more than a watch like this. So you really lack any sort of exclusivity wearing that one. Whereas you won't find many designs like this particular one on the likes of AliExpress for barely anything. And also the straps that come with these Vaer watches tend to generally be better. Now this one looks like the same one that comes on one of the other C3 watches, which is pretty good. The only downside to it is that the texture does accrue bits of dirt and it kind of captures them a little bit, but it's very flexible and it has this nice little hole here which perfectly tucks into the second keeper, which I'll showcase it on the wrist in a minute. It does a great job of looking very sleek. Overall, I think this is a very good looking little field watch, and I don't know whether it's that double domed crystal or something, but it kind of gives the illusion that the dial is curved slightly. Not sure if it actually is or not, but kind of looks like it is. But yeah, I'm excited to get this small little watch on my small arm. That's who it's really designed for. I'm also keen to see what it looks like on the other strap. Now, like with some of the other Vaer watches, you can buy this on a bracelet, but the price does balloon fairly substantially. And the bracelets aren't perfect. They've got problems like I mentioned in the full review of Vaer watches. But I really feel like this strap could perfectly suit this watch with that coloured lume. Let's just check the dimensions in case they're different from any of the others. So it's actually a hair under 36 wide. It is nice and slim, not super slim, 11.2 with the domed crystal. Without it, more like 10, just under 10 perhaps. And lug to lug is very small on this version of the watch. 42.9 I've got it as there. So here's a look at it on my 6¼ inch wrist. And I think that looks excellent. I've also got the Dirty Dozen watch that I reviewed recently on Ben's Watch Club here as well. Definitely think the one on the left side looks much more distinctive. Has a bit more character, or at least individuality to it. Whereas the Dirty Dozen models, you can get loads of different watches that look very, very similar. Whereas this, I wasn't able to find more than one other alternative, I think. Here's a closer look at it on the wrist. Fits my arm perfectly, this. These C3 models are some of the best fitting I found for small arms anyway. And then there's that feature that I mentioned with the end of the strap there too. It's just so flush and neat. It's much better than most. And there's the strap, fairly comfortable. I am very far down the strap, that's the only thing. If you have got a super tiny wrist, say 6 inches or maybe less, you may struggle actually with fitting into the strap. Overall though, I am impressed with the way this watch looks. I wouldn't say it looks, you know, significantly more expensive or anything like that, but it is fairly handsome. I'm excited to get on this other strap. Let's take a look at it. You'll have to let me know if you want to see maybe a comparison between this and that Timex I mentioned earlier, or if there are any other solar options that you can think of that fill this same niche, because I've really struggled to find these sorts of things over the years. People don't seem to want to put solar in their watches. Maybe solar watches don't sell as well as you might think. And get this to fit, come on. And there it is on the beige nylon band, and I think that colour definitely is the way to go. The only downside with it really though is the bulkiness of it. So I feel like for a watch of this sort of size, it just looks a little bit bulky. Maybe a slight taper to it somehow would work better. I mean, part of that is because the lug width is still fairly large because you've got these super thin lugs. But overall, yeah, do like this watch. It's affiliate linked in the video description if you want to check it out. Wouldn't say I'm absolutely blown away by it, but I do think it is slightly better than some of the other more affordable Vaer watches that they offer. And you get a look that's pretty much unlike anything else at the moment.